Let's head over to the lines because waiting for us on the phone is Congressman Adam Kinzinger taking some time out of his day. Congressman, good morning to you.
Dude, it feels like it's January and it's snowing in D.C. and these people don't know how to drive in snow. It's, man.
That's got to be nuts in D.C. with weather like that.
Yeah, and now, so traffic's bad enough. People don't know how to drive anyway, much less in bad weather. And then, now we're going to add Amazon on top of it out here. It's like awesome. So let's bring a bunch of California folks out here to D.C. and see how that works out.
Sure, yeah, they'll enjoy that. Yeah, gridlock, nothing new. Let's bring gridlock to the East Coast now. That should be fun for everybody.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Hey, we haven't had a chance to talk since the election was finalized. Congratulations on the re-election.
Well, thanks. It was, given the year and everything, it was a much bigger margin than I had even hoped for. So thanks to everybody, all the supporters. Thanks to, even if you didn't vote for me, it's an honor to represent you. And it's good to have that behind us. And, we'll have a bit of a different role now. But we'll manage it. We'll manage it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Tell me about about Kevin McCarthy.
He's great. I mean, look, I'm just going to be frank about the Jim Jordan thing. People like him because he goes on TV and he says all this conservative stuff. He hasn't really ever achieved anything. I'm just being honest.
Sure.
And when you look at a minority leader and who you need somebody that's going to unite. Kevin McCarthy doesn't go on television and attack only Republicans. He goes on and goes after Democrats and stands with the Republicans. Jim Jordan, on the other hand, 90% of his effort is attacking other Republicans. And so, look, I like Jim personally. I think Kevin was a good choice. And I think, now, look, our role is really messaging. It's communicating. That's what happens when you're in the minority. I've never served in the minority, so it'll be different. And I think he'll be good for that position.
Now, for everybody saying, "Oh yeah, now look out," it's going to be investigation after investigation. It's going to be the march to impeachment. That's what this House of Representatives is going to be all about. Is that the best way of going about things?
Well, not if you're a Democrat, but I think that's actually the most accurate of what they're going to do. Pelosi, I still think she's going to be Speaker. I mean, she can put her thumb on her caucus like nobody else. It would be the best thing for Republicans, frankly. Not the country, but for Republicans if she was Speaker.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I think they are not going to be able to resist because, look, I mean, this Cortez lady from New York, she's already protesting outside the Speaker's house day one. So they're going to have this dynamic where Nancy Pelosi, as liberal as she is not liberal enough for some of these people. And, they're going to want to go after the Trump administration. They're going to want to attack in public. And I think, maybe the first month it's not like that. And then the worst impulses of the Democratic Party take over and it just becomes a perpetual witch hunt against the administration.
Yeah, whereas nothing gets done, we've got a ton of gridlock. And meanwhile, the important stuff will then, move its way up toward the Senate.
Yeah, that's right. And it's going to be, gridlock. Trust me, when Democrats have any lever of government, I'd much rather have gridlock than really their form of leadership. We're going to try to work with Democrats where we can. But if they turn this into let's use this position to just call in every member of the administration, that's where the minority's job is important. And again, this is new to me because I've never served in the minority. But our job then is to communicate and to get out there in front of the cameras. That's something I enjoy doing, obviously, and communicating.
Sure.
And so that's going to be an important part of our role.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how that whole speaker thing shakes out, because I'm just reading this piece on, this effort among some of the Democratic Party to make sure that Nancy Pelosi will not become speaker, although last night at 10 o'clock local time, her quote, "I will be speaker," period.
Yeah, I think she will, because here's what I predict. I could be wrong. Here's what I predict, though. I predict that, she'll corral all these people. They're going to vote for her on the floor. And they will tell the people that they promised they wouldn't vote for Nancy Pelosi. They're going to say, look, in conference, I voted against her. I voted for so-and-so. But she won, and now as Democrats, we have to be unified, so I voted for her on the floor. That's how I think it comes down. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think ends up happening.
You know what? That makes perfect sense, because, a lot can be said before the actual real life, okay, this is going to decide it vote takes place, and so you can go all over the place until it comes down to that.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at like with us, there was very rarely is there really any floor stuff. When Boehner ran, he'd have 50 votes against him, and then we'd all go out on the floor and vote for him. They're going to use this, though, as a way to take an excuse back to the district. I'm not sure where Underhill or Underwood, my neighbor now, and taking Randy Halkran's seat,
sure,
or Sean Casten. I'm not sure if they promised to vote against Pelosi, but we're going to certainly remind all 1.5 million of the voters in both those districts that their first vote is for Nancy Pelosi. I think that's something that those districts aren't big fans of.
No, probably not. And speaking of voting, what's your take on, I'll go Florida and Arizona, or Arizona and Florida? You can pick the order.
Florida, look, I mean, the ballot person violated the law. I mean, the reason that you're supposed to declare the number of ballots 30 minutes after the polls close is because they have a rule in Florida that your ballot has to be in by Election Day. And it prevents things like, hey, let's get a whole bunch of extra ballots, but let's go find people that didn't vote and get them to fill out absentee. I think we're right to be on top of this. I don't like when the president or Democrats, as they do all the time, undermine our voting system and say this is voter fraud, it's terrible, it's evil, because I think that undermines the whole system. But I think there's a lot of untoward things going on. And in Arizona, look, I'm sorry about my good friend Martha McSally losing. She's going to end up in the Senate, though. I think she's going to end up taking McCain's open seat and have to run again in 2 years. But, yeah, Kristen Sinema, I'd much rather she not be there, but she won.
Yeah, and already after campaigning on the fact that he would not support Chuck Schumer as minority leader, has decided to support Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, it's amazing because, I know Kristen. She's actually a very nice person, but, she's the one that out here was pretending like she was some hawk on foreign policy, and then we all find out that she was a member of Code Pink and saying that, any American should have a right to be a member of Al-Qaeda. You don't, do a 180 unless you found Jesus. You don't do a 180 on issues like that quickly.
No.
It just doesn't happen.
No, it seems a little odd that, yes, I'm firmly in this camp. Oh, now that I'm elected, well, now I have the freedom to move around a little bit.
I think Americans can join Al-Qaeda, and now I'm a hawk, and I'm never going to vote for Chuck Schumer, and now I'm voting for Chuck Schumer. So, literally, unless the Lord is doing rapid work in her soul and life, there's maybe a little politician action going on there.
Hey, we're just off the heels of Veterans Day. Belated Happy Veterans Day to you as well. The president didn't hold back at all in laying into France a little bit on the occasion of Veterans Day.
Yeah, it was, there's, as always, there's way more to the story, like why he didn't go to the ceremony and people were making fun of him. And I don't think it's because he didn't want to go into bad weather. But I think it's right. Look, Macron, the French are going back to being the old French we know. They're allies, but we dislike them in many cases.
Yeah,
but
allies of convenience, sure.
Yeah, exactly. And, look, Macron has a terrible approval rating. Worse than Congress and sharks, and he is going to, and he's using Donald Trump as a punching bag, and that's what happened. So look, Donald Trump is not a Nazi. Donald Trump saying he's a nationalist means he loves America. By the way, Hitler was not right wing, and the Nazis were not right wing. They were left wing because they were nationalist socialists. So the people that are saying that anytime you say nationalist, you have to mean Hitler. Well, anybody that says socialist means Hitler too, then. Let's play, if we want to play the Hitler game. The reality is Donald Trump loves America, and he's putting America first as he should.
Yep, and a lot of quibbling over that particular definition of what nationalism means. The Google definition doesn't necessarily match up with the Merriam-Webster. Hey, listen.
Yeah, and the question is, what does the president mean? Does the president really, does anybody really believe he's saying he's a Nazi? Or maybe he just says, I'm a nationalist because I love this country. Let's just be honest. The truth is, it's because he loves this country. Let's quit playing games.
Yeah, I tend to think it's probably not admiration for the Nazi Reich. Just guessing based upon past behavior.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I know you're very busy. Before I let you go, we're on to a new cycle. Re-election is taking place. What have you learned about the district? Where are we going and going forward?
Look, the district's great. They love their country. They work hard. It was one of my largest victories, given especially the kind of year it was, so I'm appreciative of that. I think we have a lot to be optimistic for. Illinois is in a bad spot. We're going to take our time now to rebuild. But from a party perspective, let me say this. Let's quit in Illinois doing a postmortem of who's at fault, who's wrong, who to point fingers at. And let's just all come together and say it's much rather the worst Republican in charge of Illinois than the best Democrat.
All right, an excellent point. And as always, Congressman, I know how busy you are. Thanks a lot for taking time out of your day. We'll look forward to our next chat.
You bet. Take care.